So this episode is a little different. It's just an excerpt from a 2-hour masterclass on getting noticed at work, presented by the Excellence in Leadership Institute. David Hajjar and I are talking, and you are not going to want to miss what we're going to be talking about. Stay tuned.
You are listening to The Leadersmith, Darren Gerdes.
So we are very glad to have you in this session with us as we're talking about how to get noticed at work. In general, what we do is we teach leadership, but underneath leadership, what we're doing is we're trying to help people get promoted, move from one company to another, or get promoted within their own company. And one slice of that is how to get noticed by upper management or the executives where you work. So I'm very glad to be here, and particularly with David Hajjar. David is phenomenal. He has a wealth of information to bring to this. David has been, he's been on a diplomatic passport, brokered $1 million deals, led the U.S. government initiatives on certain foreign things like the invasion of Russian invasion of Georgia. He was their point person. This guy has a wealth of knowledge about the subject matter we're going into. David, what else would you like them to know?
Actually, I think that one interesting point is that I'm able to bring to the table experience in over 130 different countries,
Mm-hmm.
and from both the private and the public sector.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these principles are universal, and they cut across, any setting that you might be in. And some of them have potential cultural nuances of how they work. But in general, a lot of what we're going to be talking about today has to do with really some disciplines, some ways of thinking, some mindsets, and actual activities that will help you get noticed and help put you in a position where your value is recognized.
Good.
You remember I was telling you about how I take regular breaks and walk around my team?
Mm-hmm.
I actually make it a point to walk around all the different floors, all the different departments.
Mm-hmm.
And in that process, I stop and say hello to people, I get to know them, and automatically start building those relationships, those ties, that trust bond. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to smoke, but I am a smoker, and having to take a regular break and go outside and have a cigarette, for me, has been an incredible tool for meeting people from other departments and other places, and just having a regular time to sit there and maybe have a cup of tea, or it doesn't have to be a cigarette, but
You got to tell that story about the drivers.
One thing that I used to do a lot was travel around the world, and particularly, visiting U.S. embassies or USAID missions. I had designed a full training for helping USAID missions do contingency planning and prepare for emergencies and responding to critical situations, let's say. And one of the things that I really made it a point to do is on a regular basis to take a break and just go outside. And for me, it was an excuse to have a cigarette. And I would purposely go and sit down with the drivers. Now, every mission, every embassy has a whole cadre of local individuals who know the city well, and they've been employed as drivers. Unfortunately, they're often really not valued and not treated very well. They're very much taken for granted. People leave them, waiting outside for hours in the sun while they're in a meeting or what have you. And for me, everybody is valuable and has an important intrinsic place within the team. And so in situations like that, I actually would get them lunch and feed them in their cars or whatever if they're waiting for me, or I'd let them go.
Stop. Right there. If you're hearing what he's saying, just listen to that.
I would purposely go and sit down with the drivers. Now, every mission, every embassy has, a whole cadre of local individuals who know the city well, and they've been employed as drivers. Unfortunately, they're often really not valued and not treated very well. They're very much taken for granted. People leave them, waiting outside for hours in the sun while they're in a meeting or what have you. And for me, everybody is valuable and has an important intrinsic place within the team. And so in situations like that, I actually would get them lunch and feed them in their cars or whatever if they're waiting for me, or I'd let them go and
Stop. How brilliant is that? He's getting these people that are overlooked lunch. Only good things are going to happen from that, right? Only good things. Okay, continue, please.
no, but that's right on point. I mean, it got to the point where on a regular basis, I would go downstairs. They would be waiting for me. They would prepare tea for me. We would sit down. I would learn about their families. I would learn about their children, where they were working before. Now, these are the people who spend their entire day listening to the news, figuring out where is it safe to drive, where's their traffic, where is there potential problems, how can they get us in and out of different places and situations and meetings most efficiently, most effectively. Basically we couldn't get our job done, our work done without them. Mm-hmm. And so spending that time with them, even though this was not my initial intent, I was just valuing them as people.
Yeah.
I became the hub for all intelligence. And again, we're working in dangerous areas. We're responding to disasters, there are conflict areas in the Middle East or other places. And so, as soon as something would be stirring up in the community, the drivers would immediately come to me. I would be the first person to know, not the security officer, not the military attaché, they would come to me and they would share with me what was going on. David, your team, maybe you need to be careful about, you might want to postpone this meeting. Don't go to this area for the next 2 days, and on and on and on. And so I kind of became the go-to person for security information. And the flip side is also true. Anytime then somebody at the embassy or the mission needed to get something done, they would come to me. I was the outsider. I was there for a short term, but they would come to me because I had built all those relationships, not just with the drivers, but with the custodial staff as well, and so on. So if they needed, anything done outside of the building or some repairs or some maintenance or whatever, I already had all the relationships. And so I was the go-to person for problem solving, both like kind of bridging those two populations within the missions and the embassies.
Now, that story is just phenomenal. And it's phenomenal for a couple of reasons. The first is that very often, like we're talking about how to get noticed at work, you're not thinking about how to get noticed by the drivers. But if you want to get noticed by the upper ups, what did he have? He had all this valuable information. How did he get it? Because he was kind to these people, because he just appreciated them as people. So your tendency is to try to suck up. Stop sucking up. Don't do that. Okay. Nobody likes to suck up to begin with, but that's not what he did. What did he do? He got intelligence from these drivers because he was kind to them. And then that armed him with something that he had for the upper ups that they valued. So you have to think, like, just if you need to rewind this and listen to that entire story again, but that is breaking down silos. And if you can do that, you're going to be incredibly valuable and be noticed. Okay, so that brings us to our quotation for contemplation for today. It's from Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. He said, "Remember, there's no such thing as a small act of kindness. Every act creates a ripple with no logical end." Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. I hope that helps you have some food for thought for how you can be a better leader, the kind of leader that you would want to follow.